Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Welcome back, everyone. Great to have you here today on a special Training Thursday edition of the Cabral Concept, where we are going to be answering that age-old question of, does weightlifting make you bulky? So this is a question that I've honestly been answering for over 20 years now, somewhere probably around 25 years. Yes, it's been about 25 years. Hard to believe where the years go, but they just keep on coming. So one of the things that I learned many, many years ago as a very young personal trainer was the fear that around a lot of people, many women, not wanting to lift weights because they did not want to put on too much muscle. And I totally got it. I understood where they were coming from. I knew the physique that they were looking for. But I realized, and again, like I knew this myself, just trying to put on muscle myself, that muscle was not only not going to kind of just pour onto your body, but it was actually to be prized, that it was hard to come by. So we're going to answer all of these questions today, actually giving you 7 scientific reasons to look at and to really alleviate your fears. Because at the end of the day, weightlifting and resistance training is actually much more than about putting on muscle. And believe it or not, by lifting weights, you're going to improve almost every facet of your body. Immune system, if not overdone, your body's ability to burn more body fat, to change the shape, to metabolize glucose. So we're going to go through all of those different things here today. And I hope by the end of the show, you understand how much muscle you're likely to put on, what happens if you do start to put on muscle, and really what you need to do in order to bulk up in the first place. So I'm going to take you through all of that here today, 20-minute show. All the details and show notes will be available at stephencabral.com/1882. And always my 3 big takeaways will be there as well. stephencabral.com/1882. Does weightlifting make you bulky? All right, let's go over that right now. Again, love being able to do these Training Thursday-based shows. But first point, so 1 of 7 is this. We have to understand that when people are talking about transforming their physique, what they're really talking about is this, changing their shape. Because I'll tell you, you might be 150 pounds right now, and it might be a perfect weight for you, especially if it's within your normal BMI. So if 150 pounds is a great weight for you, or you know someone else that's 150 pounds, but they look drastically different than you, well, it means changing your shape. That's really what we're talking about. I want you to almost not even think about the scale anymore, because you can maintain close to the same weight a lot of the times and just completely transform your body. Now, there's a big caveat to that, because a lot of people say, well, and I know there's been transformations online like this, like, well, I lost 20 pounds of body fat and put on 20 pounds of muscle. That is not going to happen for the majority of people. You would need to be on, if that happens within 6 months, you'd probably have to be on anabolic steroids, or you probably have to be in the past already had that 20 pounds of muscle on. It's unlikely that you put on 20 pounds of muscle unless you're completely untrained. If you're on steroids, or you've already had that muscle and you just kind of got it back because you lost the weight and just put it back on. So again, there's always an outlier, right? But for the most part, not going to happen. However, there are many people out there that could put on some muscle, lose some body fat, completely transform their body, and stay within 10 pounds or so of their body weight. So it's about shape. That's what I'm getting at. When we're talking about weightlifting, we are talking about changing your shape. And if you want those defined shoulders, defined arm muscles like your biceps and your triceps, you want those defined thighs that you might be talking about, which are your quadriceps or your hamstrings or your glutes or your calves, you actually need to be doing strength training, which is weight training, some type of resistance training. And yes, your own body weight will work. However, you will need to figure out ways in the future of how to make those body weight exercises more challenging, because the goal is not to do 1,000 reps. The goal is actually to stay most of the time under 20 repetitions. So you're going to want to eventually be able to increase it with bands for some resistance, or kettlebells, or a sandbag, or a mace, or dumbbells, or well, again, whatever you want. Your body only knows the resistance that it's under. It doesn't necessarily know that you have a dumbbell on your shoulder, a barbell on your shoulders versus 2 dumbbells for a front squat. Like again, like you can use however you want, or a goblet squat, or holding a kettlebell. So what I want you to understand is this. Think of weight training and strength training not as bulking you up, but actually is helping to transform the shape of your body and add more definition. Now, a lot of people say, well, the only way you get definition is through diet. That's true, but you need the muscle there. So if you're actively working with good strength training, resistance training, again, they're interchangeable, then the diet will show those results. But I'm about to get into, on number 3, why you can't do it through diet alone. All right, number 2 is this. Weightlifting increases your calorie burn 24/7. Okay, so you're worried about bulking up. I get it. I totally understand that, because you see some bodybuilders out there, male and female, and they've got a ton of muscle in your body. First of all, understand, the majority of very large bodybuilders are not only on testosterone, men and women, but they're also on growth hormone. That's a lot of things that you don't know. I didn't learn this until I started going to like Gold's Gym and these places. I'm like, oh, like that guy's huge. I'm like, he must be using a lot of steroids. Like, oh no. He's not just using steroids, anabolic steroids. He's using growth hormone and insulin to get that big. And I said, oh, okay, well, that's the next level. So do understand that those physiques, and again, if that's your goal, not likely possible. And again, we're just, because I want to set expectations, unless you are just a genetic abnormality in a good way, like Ronnie Coleman, who was a previous Mr. Olympia most time, and he was already big. He was already genetically gifted. Then when he started using all the different steroids and growth hormones, he got to be enormous. Now, that was obviously his goal. And if you look at him now, there's a great documentary. I'm actually a fan of Ronnie Coleman, huge fan. But you can see his body is just absolutely deteriorated, and it's too bad. But that's neither here nor there. I don't want to go off of that tangent right now, but understand that by weightlifting and resistance training, by adding a little bit of muscle, which is not going to bulk you up, we're talking about a couple pounds, your body's going to become more metabolically active. It's going to use carbohydrates to a better degree, and it's going to burn more calories even when you're not working out. Number 3, I told you I'd get to this one. Dieting alone is not only not going to get you to your body transformation goals, it's going to begin to strip you of muscle. You might say, well, that's a good thing because I don't want to be bulky in the first place. Here's the problem. You know that shoulder definition I talked about, right? The definition on the thigh muscles, the quadriceps, the glutes. You diet without any strength training, especially the intermittent fasting that I've been talking about, you lose muscle. What happens there? Your body starts to look softer. It becomes weaker. So sure, you're losing weight on the scale, but what happens eventually? You plateau. Then the weight actually goes up. What happens there? The body looks even softer. There's less strength. And now you can't eat as many calories because you've actually been stripping your body of its own metabolism. So although you might be thinner temporarily by dieting without any exercise or strength training specifically, not cardio, but strength training at least twice a week, the issue is this, is that in the long run, it's going to destroy your metabolism. It really is. Everybody should be strength training, working out with weights to their ability at least twice a week. 3 times is really all you need. Again, twice is fantastic. Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, Friday, just not back-to-back days because you don't want the 4+ days in between. If you can do 3 days a week, well, a gold star for sure. All right, number 4 is this. People always say this, I don't want to bulk up. Don't want to bulk up because muscle weighs more than fat. Okay, muscle does not weigh more than fat. 5 pounds of muscle weighs exactly the same as 5 pounds of body fat. Let me repeat that. Muscle does not weigh more than fat. Muscle weighs exactly the same as 5 pounds of fat. 5 pounds of muscle, 5 pounds of fat. However, there is a difference in density. So the proper way to say that would be muscle is more dense than body fat. So if I were to take, this is probably a pretty good example right here. If I take this, let's say this is about 3 pounds of body fat, this supplement jar I have right here, okay? 3 pounds of body fat. If we're looking at about 3 pounds of muscle, we're looking at, it's not a good example because again, you're looking at 30%, you're looking at just a fraction of the size of this is going to be 3 pounds of dense muscle tissue, right? So like a couple fingers, even though, again, that wouldn't weigh exactly 3 pounds, but we're talking proportion. So let's say this is, let's say it's 1 pound of body fat and this is 1 pound of muscle, right? If we look at that, just look at the difference in size. And actually, you know what I'll do for you is, because I want to give you a great example of, and I'll pop this up on the video as well. So if you're watching on video, then good for you. You can watch on YouTube. You can also watch just on the podcast page, which today is stephencabral.com/1882. I'm going to actually show you the difference in proportion, the exact difference of how much denser muscle tissue is than body fat. Body fat is soft and inflated, where muscle tissue is much more dense. So just keep in mind that the two weigh the same, but proportionally, muscle is much, much denser. And so it's not going to appear as big in your body when you look at the two. All right, number 5 is this. The likelihood that you put on any more than a couple of pounds in muscle in about 3 months is highly unlikely. And again, we've done hundreds of thousands of client appointments. Now, the first 12 to 16 weeks, we put clients through a program. A lot of people say this can't be done. It can be done. They simultaneously burn body fat and put on muscle. And here's why. They're on the proper nutrition plan and there's strength training, resistance training at least about 3 times a week. They might even be doing intervals once a week or so. Okay, so what do we have? Well, we're putting them in a state where they're untrained. Now we're training them. They're able to put on muscle because we also have them on the proper diet, because diet is such a big part of it, making sure they get enough protein, amino acids. We might have them using the daily foundation protocol plus some advanced collagen support. And then boom, we get that transformation, and they put on some muscle and they lose a lot of body fat, and people can't believe it because in 12 to 16 weeks, you could lose 30 pounds. Like you can literally lose 30 pounds. It's not that outlandish. It's only about 2.5 to 3 pounds a week. Like that is not a lot of weight to be able to lose under the right program. So if you hadn't seen somebody in 90 days and you saw them and they lost 30 pounds of body fat and put on a couple pounds of muscle, they would be transformed in front of your eyes. And that's what it is. A lot of times people go back, see their family, see their friends, and like, whoa, what happened to you? Because their clothes fit different. They're carrying themselves differently. They've got a little bit of a glow to them, right? They've got that shoulder definition. And what happens is the body took new shape because you went from untrained to trained. But even then, you're not putting on a ton of muscle. I've seen maybe 5-6 pounds in those first, and that's from an untrained individual, typically a male, not a female. Female, maybe a pound, maybe 2. We're not. What I'm trying to say is this. After that, you're not putting on that much muscle. You're just not. You're putting on a couple pounds at best in 90 days, at best, right? We could talk about water volume. That's a different story. I'm not talking about that here today, but that's really important to look at. That is that the likelihood that you're just going to bulk up and put on a ton of muscle in general is not only physiologically impossible without steroid enhancement, it's just not going to happen. All right. So I want to talk about rep ranges. If you're still really worried about bulking up, I want to share with you some rep ranges. To put on real dense muscle, which again, we're talking about the actual myofibril changes in the muscle density. We're talking about the actual tissue, which means like a couple pounds a year, right? Maximum. What are we looking at? Well, and again, this is for someone that's already been weightlifting for a while. That's why I say maximum. The first year, you can definitely put on muscle. And if you're a teenager or early 20s, you can definitely pack on some muscle. There's no doubt about it, right? So here's the thing. You have to be doing some lower rep sets. Typically, it's going to be somewhere from, let's say, 5 to 8 reps, okay? So let's say 5x5s, great for putting on, you're building strength and you're changing the myofibril structure to make it more dense. That's the easiest way to say it. Now, if you stay more in what's called the hypertrophy zone, a little out of the strength zone, but hypertrophy 8 to 12, I would even say 8 to 15, then you're going to be able to say, let's say 3 sets of 12. You're going to be able to put on some muscle, no doubt about it. But a lot of that, it's not myofibril. You're actually helping the muscle cells themselves to become more volumized, which means they're going to uptake more glucose. That's not a bad thing, right? Not a bad thing. Get it out of your blood and in your muscles for glycogen stores. But you're going to uptake water and fluid as well. So that means that your muscles will appear a little bit more swelled. Now you might say, well, that's going to make me look bulky. But here's a correction. You might actually look a little bit swollen from your workout, from all the blood flow to the muscle tissues, and a little bit more cell volumized during the workout and maybe for an hour or two afterwards. You take a shower, and a lot of people know this, guys and girls, the muscles, they just kind of go back to where they were. You want to maintain the pump a lot of the times, but you don't. It goes back, right? So that's why when you're taking your photos for Instagram, you're taking them when you have the pump. So what I'm talking, and again, all kidding aside, that's when your muscles are going to be the most swollen. But again, that goes away really quickly after a workout. So again, keep in mind that. And if you're really, again, worried about looking more bulky, well, you're just going to alternate your days. Some days you'll have a little bit lower. Some days you'll have a little bit higher reps. But again, be careful with the super high rep workouts. That's not a place to be. And again, you do want the muscle, because the muscle is what changes shape of your body. And the last part is this, and this is going to kind of pull it all together. If you're completely untrained and you're going to do resistance training, you haven't done it for years, you could have put on some muscle in the beginning. But remember, you want that, because anything you gain in muscle, you're most likely going to lose that or more in body fat. So it's a great thing. So there's scale, you're going to get an exchange there. There's no doubt about it. Okay, so we've got that. Now, what does it do? Well, it helps transform your metabolism for the long run. Now you're burning more calories on a daily basis because you put on a little bit of muscle. Does it make you look bulky? Absolutely not. No, absolutely not. It will not. You actually might look thinner. Even if the scale doesn't move, you might look leaner. Okay, that's a better way to say it. You look leaner and more defined. A lot of people want that. I'm not saying that it's everybody's body image. And if you don't want that, that's totally fine as well. Everybody can have their own body image for what works for them. I'm not here to tell you what your body image should look like. I'm just trying to help the people that want to get a leaner, more defined physique. For those people, well, this is the way to do it. Now, after you've gone past the 16 weeks or so from your initial training, you're not going to put on a lot of muscle. You're just not, especially if you're in your 40s, 50s, and beyond. You can still put on muscle, but for the most part, like you can ask any of my colleagues as well, you're not going to put on 10 pounds of muscle a year. It's unlikely. You can put back on muscle that you had lost in the past. You can certainly make strides and gains. Maybe you put on 5 pounds of muscle. Maybe you put on 8 pounds of muscle. And that would typically be for a male with good levels of testosterone, DHEA, good sleep, good recovery, good supplements. I'm not talking about using creatine. The first time I used creatine, I gained like 14 pounds. Literally, my cells, did swell. And that's great. But every subsequent time I used creatine, I didn't get those same gains. I would gain somewhere between 8 and 10 pounds. And again, that's great if you want to use creatine for those reasons. And that's helpful, but I wouldn't say that you're gaining muscle. I would say you're gaining cell volume. But in terms of resistance training, being able to put on that type of muscle, not possible. So the good news is this. You are not going to gain a ton of weight, muscle. You're not going to bulk up by doing weight training. You're just not, okay? Now, let's say though at any point you're one of the rare individuals that put on a good amount of muscle. Again, it's not going to happen. I can literally think of the 3 people that put on a lot of muscle, like a good amount of muscle by weight training. And here's how they did it though. They, first of all, genetically Pitta body type. Okay. Second, barbell training, heavy weight training, 4 or 5 days a week, eating the right diet for it. They wanted to do it. That's what they were looking to do. For everyone else, the muscle gain that you get is going to be slow, and gradual anyway. That's not a bad thing, that you can then stop at any point. So I always say this to people. And again, this is just a generalization, but it was mainly women that I would train. They might be afraid of bulking up. And again, man, woman, doesn't really matter. I'm just using, this is real research from doing this for 25 years. And I would say to them this, I would always alleviate their fears. And I would say this, at any point, because this is the truth, at any point, if you ever feel you're putting on too much muscle, if you're looking too bulky, you let me know. and we'll take that off within a couple weeks maximum. I can tell you that never happened, that no one ended up getting too bulky by doing specific, healthy, resistance training-based programs. So again, I just wanted to alleviate your fears there. It is a common misconception because you do see big bodybuilders who lift weights and they have a lot of muscle. But for the majority of people, it's not going to be you. You're not going to live that lifestyle. You're not going to eat that much food, right? Because you need a lot of food to bulk up. You need a lot of excess calories, a lot of excess protein to be able to do that. And I can tell you this, that it's something that many people would love to have that problem, and it's not that easy. So my advice is 2 to 3 strength training days per week. They only have to be 20 to 30 minutes. These do not have to be long, drawn-out workouts. 20 to 30 minutes, 2 to 3 days a week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday works great. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Full body workouts. If you don't know a specific place to start, I've got a book called A Man's Guide to Muscle and Strength. It's for women too. The publisher of that book just wanted to be said, A Man's Guide to Muscle and Strength. It's a year's worth of basically my best programs from back in the day. I wrote that back in 2010, way back in the day. Same exercises hold true to today. Again, I might make $1 if you do purchase that. And again, all my book sales, every dollar of profit I make from a book sale goes directly to charity. So again, you don't need to purchase the book. It's just, I know people are always asking, where can I get some programs? I have so many great friends and colleagues that have programs. Jay Ferrugia, Ben Pekulski, Sal DiStefano, Amanda Tress. There's so many great people who have programs for you. So honestly, you can work with any one of them, but I just wanted to be able to alleviate some of your fears here today about doing a strength training program. You owe to yourself for your anti-aging based program, for your blood sugar, for your metabolism, for your thyroid, for all your different hormones in your body to give it a shot. So hopefully this was helpful. And of course, if the show was helpful, please do feel free to share it with anyone else you believe it could serve. Take care. Before you go, I have to share with you a brand new debut, something that I've been working on for the last 8 months. You know that it takes a lot of work to create new formulations and new products because of our high commitment to excellence in the industry. Simply put, we want to make sure that we third-party test all of our ingredients, and they're always bringing you the very best of the best. This is no different, and this has been something that has been requested for quite some time, and that is there something that my kids and I can eat that is a guilt-free, healthy treat? So with that in mind, we literally went and created a dark chocolate superfood bar. So with this, you are not only getting all of the benefits of dark chocolate, of organic dark chocolate, of course, but you're also getting these superfood benefits. That means all of the bioflavonoids or the flavonols from raspberry, cherry, and apple. And if I had to give you a specific flavor, it tastes like a cherry raspberry chocolate bar. It is absolutely delicious. I have been tasting these along with my wife for about the last 6 months since they've been in production. We've been trying out different flavor batches, and I can tell you this, they are absolutely delicious. And one of the best parts is that they are a guilt-free treat. These are all organic, and one of the great things about it is that they are tested for pesticides, they are tested for molds, they are tested for other issues that a lot of other bars might contain. We make sure that all of our bars are third-party tested for that. The other nice thing is that they are only 90 calories. So instead of giving you a big chocolate bar, which we all know can be taken down in one sitting, we wanted to prepackage these. So these are just the perfect amount for a guilt-free treat. Whether you're enjoying it after a workout or whether you're enjoying it after dinner, it's 90 calories. And when we look at that, we can say, if you were even just to split that, if you chose to too, with a partner, your spouse, whoever you're enjoying a dinner with, you're taking it down to 45 calories. So in my opinion, this is one of the best ways, really one of the best ways to enjoy your dark chocolate mixed with superfoods and feel good about it. So check it out right now over at equi.life. That's EQUI.LIFE. I'm super excited about this. For one, my wife loves them, and I love to be able to create products that my wife will use as well. My kids love them, of course, because they're chocolate, and of course, I enjoy them just the same. Now, I always, whenever possible, it's not always possible, but whenever possible, I love to be able to get these to you free. And that's exactly what we're doing. Limited time offer and limited number of boxes. We are literally giving these away, a free box over $149. So any qualifying purchase over at equa.life, over $149, we're actually going to ship you a full box free. So head on over, enjoy these new dark chocolate superfood bars, all organic, of course, and tested for mold as well as pesticides. Head on over to equa.life to get your free box while supplies last.